The person behind me is the youngest woman ever to be sentenced to death in the United States. She was only 18 years old when she committed the crime and 20 years old when she was sentenced. This is the story of Christa Pike. Reminder, I tell a lot of dark true crime stories on this channel. Severe discretion is advised, but follow along if you want to hear more. So this is Christa Pike, and she had a terrible childhood. She was born in West Virginia in 1976. Her parents divorced when she was really young, and her childhood was marred by dysfunction and neglect. Her mother's name was Carissa Hansen, and she sucked ass. She often prioritized romantic relationships over parenting, and it left Christa feeling abandoned and unloved. Both of her parents were incredibly negligent. One of her aunts even noted that they found her as a baby crawling through dog droppings all over the house. She bounced around a lot in different foster homes because she was apparently violent towards other children, so she couldn't find a permanent house. And by the time she reached her teenage years, she had made several attempts on her life, and she turned to substances in order to cope. She dropped out of high school her junior year, and with little support and direction, she joined the Job Corps in Nashville, Tennessee as a fresh start. But tale as old as time, she instead became infatuated with a boy, and this is where the story takes an even darker turn. So Christa Pike became absolutely smitten with Daryl Shipp, who was 17 at the time. And he had his own troubled past. But together they bonded over a shared interest in the occult and dark practices. So it's important to recognize that Christa's history with abandonment, lack of guidance, and exposure to toxic relationships as a kid played a big role in shaping her psyche. And she really felt like this boy made her complete. But then another girl comes into the picture and threatens everything. This is 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer. She was in the same job training program as Christa and Daryl. And Christa had totally convinced herself that Colleen was trying to steal her boyfriend. Whether there is any truth to this still remains unclear. But what we do know is that Christa's jealousy spiraled into a violent obsession. And she started like a really insidious plot. On the night of January 12, 1995, Christa lured Colleen into a wooded area near the Job Corps campus. She brought along her boyfriend, Daryl Shipp, and an accomplice, Shadola Peterson. They told Colleen that they were just going to go into the woods and party, but then Christa and her boyfriend attacked her. Colleen was beaten, taunted, slashed, and tortured for 30 minutes. They both carved pentagrams into her chest. And then the final blow came when Christa took a piece of asphalt and smashed it into Colleen's skull, which ended her life. But the cruelty didn't stop there. Christa decided she wanted a souvenir from the crime, so she decided to take a piece of Colleen's skull. They were caught within 36 hours, for a number of reasons. For one, the brutality of the crime left a mountain of evidence that pointed them straight to these three. And Colleen, with her 18-year-old hubris, decided to go around and brag about the crime to her friends, and even showing off Colleen's skull to people. So the evidence was overwhelming, and there was no question that they did it. It was just what was going to happen to them now. Christa was tried in 1996, and she didn't show much remorse. The jury only took 2.5 hours to find her guilty of first-degree murder. Christa's defense argued that she was only 18 at the time of the crime and that her troubled upbringing should influence her sentencing, but they decided to sentence Christa Pike to death. Daryl Shipp, her boyfriend, was 17 at the time of the crime, and he was sentenced to life in prison with no parole. And their accomplice, Shadola Peterson, was given probation in exchange for her testimony. Christa Pike remains on death row to this day, despite her many attempts to apply for appeals, which have all been denied. And in that time, she has not been a model prisoner. She has been violent with other inmates, and she even plotted a prison escape with her boyfriend and a prison guard, unsuccessfully. So while Christa's upbringing offers us a glimpse into her mindset as a person looking for belonging in all the wrong places, doesn't excuse her behavior or the decisions that she made that night, because Colleen Slemmer's family still lives with the pain of her loss. And that is the story of Christa Pike, the youngest woman to ever be sentenced to death.